Hello and welcome to another F1 Manager video. It's fair to say Mick Schumacher hasn't had the greatest year in F1. He hasn't got a contract at Haas next year and still doesn't have a seat anywhere, so who knows what's going to happen to him. So with his F1 hopes slowly fading away, let's slap him in the same team that his dad dominated the sport in. Except this one doesn't have Ross Brawn and instead Mattia Binotto, as well as some brain dead strategists. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so let's have a look at his stats. So, he has very good consistency, very nice smoothness. We'll definitely put him on some long strategies. His racecraft isn't great, but that's not really the most key thing. The key thing is the pace stats, and they aren't great. But we'll see what he can do with the best car on the grid. We'll see if he can actually keep up with Leclerc or not. So what we're going to do over the season is, we're going to look at qualifying only in Bahrain, and then after that, we'll just skim over the races once they've finished. Hope you understand. Let's get into it. Okay, so first qualifying of the year, I don't think this is very good. He was in 7th in Q2 and now he's dropped to 10th. He's behind Carlos Sainz in the Haas. But at least Charles is in 2nd. We're going to still try and win the Constructors, even with a weaker driver. Okay, so that is our first race done. And oh my god, it did not go well. Let me explain. So, Charles had a good start. He was racing with Perez and Verstappen. He was in the lead and then he had his pit stops. But we moved to Schumacher, who got himself up to P8 after a few laps, but then made a mistake, dropped all the way to the back of the grid and had to fight his way back up. And then he went on to make 2 more mistakes that also dropped him down a few places. Probably could have been where Zhou was, but ultimately Zhou didn't make any mistakes and Schumacher locked up 3 times. So yeah, it was not a good first race. Drivers' Championship is obviously how it ended in that race. Mick is 11th and Charles is 2nd. I'm still getting used to this new update as well. I haven't actually played the game since it came out, so I've got to get used to it. And we are 3rd in the Constructors because Charles carried. Okay, that's much better. Charles wins the race and Schumacher finally gets on the podium. He didn't put a foot wrong in the entire race, didn't make a single mistake. Max did, and I think Perez did as well, so he paid off. As you can see, the time was 4/10. Perez overtook him on the last lap. It was very annoying. We were nearly 1-2 after a safety car restart, but we'll take it. He's finally on the podium. So he's moved up to 7th. Charles has moved up to 1st in the championship and then the Constructors. We're in 2nd, only 12 points behind Red Bull. So nice. If Schumacher can keep up these good performances, then we might have a chance. Okay, so this looks like a pretty decent result on paper, but it definitely wasn't. Let's explain. So, 3rd and 4th on the grid, very solid. Charles gets up to 2nd, and then Schumacher makes a mistake, drops down to 7th, and then he punts Alonso. DNF's Alonso, has a broken front wing, causes a safety car, which definitely helps him, and I had to change his strategy completely. So, he went onto a 2-stop. But it actually paid off in the end. He made another mistake, he spun, but he still finished 4th, so it doesn't really matter. He still had some pretty good pace, but I mean, it would have helped if he didn't spin and crash into Alonso. So he's up to 5th. Charles has extended his lead at the front, and once again, Max finishes behind Perez. I don't really understand that. And Charles was so far clear of Perez, 20 plus seconds. We're nearly there in the Constructors. We just need a few more points, and we need Schumacher to start beating the Red Bulls. Okay, that was the perfect race. Alright, so I'll explain everything that happened. So basically, first probably 4 laps, it was dry, so I went aggressive. Obviously, soft tyre, just attack, full push, get a bit of a gap. Then it started raining. It rained for quite a long time. We went straight onto the wets, which was the right gamble. So automatically, the Red Bulls dropped down a million places. And look, Carlos Sainz went up. Vettel was in 3rd for most of the race. So we were 1-2. And then it got dry. We pitted on the right time. We went to inters, then to mediums, and it was perfect. And look, we literally lapped every single car apart from Mick. Every single car other than Ferrari. That is perfect. Max made 6 stops. Lewis made 7, and we only made 3. So Mick is 4th in the drivers. Charles has extended his lead again. Is it going to look like real life though? That's the thing. That's the thing I'm scared about. We have gone ahead of Red Bull in the Constructors. Hopefully it stays that way because we have been much better these first few races. Okay, so another great result. Charles won the race, but you might be wondering, where's Schumacher? Well, he fucking binned it. Yep, 38 laps in, midway through the second stint for Charles, he binned it. Massive crash, caused a safety car. It was actually perfect because Charles was right next to the pit lane and Max had already gone past. So it was perfect. We pitted him onto some fresh mediums. He got past Max. Max got passed by Perez again. And yeah, he was left out to dry because he got unlucky. So Mick has dropped behind Hamilton, who's in the third best car. And Charles is now 40 points clear of Max and Ferrari are 10 points clear of Red Bull. Alright, so good race. The one stop once again worked in Spain. It's really OP. It's very OP. Probably shouldn't be this good. Anyway, Mick had an awful qualifying, P8, but he made his way up to third. But not without another few mistakes. He locked up at turn 4 and he also spun on the first lap and took up Perez. Dropped him down, got himself a penalty, but ultimately he was still 20 seconds ahead of Hamilton, so still got on the podium. Charles was caught by Verstappen with 2 laps to go, but I saved the tyres for then, and he was able to defend from him, so it's a 1-3. Mick is back up to 4th in the drivers. Charles obviously still leading by 43 points, I can't even count, and we're leading by 25 points. What alternate reality are we living in where Charles Leclerc wins the Monaco Grand Prix? So Mick qualified 9th and ended up in P6. Basically what happened was Charles, I think, was a little bit behind, overtaking some lap cars. He was in 2nd after the pit stops, and Ricciardo punted Max, which damaged his front wing more severely than Charles, who went into the back of Ricciardo because he stopped on the racing line. But then that caused a VSC, which actually helped Mick out, so I guess we're repaying him for Miami. I had to replace his front wing. Max came out a lot worse. I think he had some other damage that slowed his car down. Ultimately, though, the extra stop with the fresh tyres meant that we could get ahead of Perez, who was on older tyres, and obviously finished 20 seconds clear. Mick has dropped again behind Hamilton. It's very not good. And in the constructors, we have gone further clear. We got 39 points ahead of Red Bull. So Leclerc won again from 2nd, and Mick once again had an awful qualifying, starting in 10th. Obviously he made up for it in the race because he's got the best car under him, but still his performances need to get better. Charles is absolutely destroying Max at the moment. Look at how far ahead he is. 75 points clear. Mick's finally overtaking Hamilton. He's literally level with him. That is so disappointing. He should be qualifying 4th at least every single race, but he's qualifying in 10th, 9th, 8th. He shouldn't be that low, and we are still far ahead of them. 42 points clear. Okay, so another win for Charles. First after qualifying 3rd. Once again, having an awful qualifying, and that pretty much compromised him. Although he was one of the only 5 drivers to stay on the lead lap. So let me explain the race. Basically, there was a few laps before rain was starting to come down. Mick was in 5th. I was going full attack with the softs, and then he made a mistake. Dropped to the back of the grid. But the interplay was perfect. We did it at the right time. And he came back out in 10th. And then when it went onto the dries, we pitted at the correct time again, and he jumped up into 5th. So overall, it was really good strategy for him. And for Charles, he just had so much pace. He was 35 seconds clear. Fucking hell, 82 points ahead of Max. And Mick has once again dropped below Hamilton. What is this? How is this happening? He should be nowhere near to Hamilton. Obviously in the constructors as well, 43 points clear. Yeah, it's just another amazing weekend. There we go, it's finally happened. So let me explain everything that happened in this race. So Mick started 4th, Charles started 2nd. At the start, he had the pace, he just completely flew away from the Red Bulls. But Mick was fighting with Perez, he was just sort of switching positions with him, and I wanted that because he would get more points. Then the pit stops, it worked out really well. Mick had some really good laps before he pitted, so he came out ahead of Perez, then went clear because he had fresher tyres and he was just faster in general. Charles His fuel saving is terrible, so I had to put him on conserve, but Mick's fuel saving is very good, so I had him on push. And ultimately, I had to keep Leclerc on conserve on the last few laps because he was in the red, he was very in the red, so that's probably why Mick won, but even then, he was just much better this race than the others. Standings, he's gone a bit clearer of Hamilton now. He should be fighting with Perez and Verstappen, to be honest. I think he can get close to them. And in the constructors, we are 60 points ahead. So look at that, another 1-2, another crazy race, and this one was affected by rain, so let me run you through what happened. Mick started 4th, once again had a good qualifying. Charles once again started 2nd. So on the start we went aggressive on mediums until the rain started. We got up into 1-2, and then the Red Bulls took each other out. Perez took Verstappen out, damaged his front wing and Max's front wing. They both pitted and they were automatically out, and we were just going to cruise to the end. So honestly, just incredible. Only 2 stops because we got the right tyres on again. And the standings, he's getting close to Perez now, which is good. He needs to be catching up to him, definitely. I think I could see him overtaking Max by the end of the season. Our car is so good and Red Bull keep making mistakes, which is like the complete opposite of what's happening in real life. Constructors, 87 points clear. Jesus Christ, we are doing bits. So a very good race once again. Charles won from pole. We actually had a 1-2 in qualifying, which means Schumacher is getting better. But unfortunately, Max's strategy was much better than ours, and Mick made a mistake when fighting with Max, so he had to settle for 3rd. He's still only 9 points away from Perez, and Leclerc is 107 points ahead of Max, which is mental. That's literally what's happening in real life. Constructors, yeah, we're near 98 points clear. Bloody hell. Alright, so a pretty disappointing race by our standards. Started on pole, finished in 2nd, Max won, and Mick Schumacher also dropped a place. It was just a bit annoying, you know, strategies didn't really work, we didn't really have the pace, Schumacher made a mistake, you know, all the normal stuff. At least we got fastest lap though. And Leclerc's still 101 points ahead of Max. Mick's only 12 points off Sergio, and we are nearly 100 points ahead in the constructors. Okay, so another successful race, another 1-2, another Mick Schumacher 2nd place. Let me explain. So, he qualified on pole again, because Charles is pretty good at qualifying. He then led away very nicely. Mick got up to 3rd ahead of Perez or Verstappen, and it sort of stayed like that. Then there was a safety car, nothing really changed. Then Leclerc binned it, pitted in for another front wing. He was back in 3rd, so even then it wasn't that bad. Then there was a second safety car. Tsunoda killed Gasly at turn 1. And I had the opportunity to pit Charles for some fresh softs. I did that, he dropped down to 3rd, and then obviously because he has the fresher tyres, he went up and won the race. Mick came 2nd, he just had more pace than Max and Sergio. And yeah, it's a good race. He's 6 points away from Perez now, which is very nice. And in the constructors, we are 106 points ahead. Okay, another great race. Look at this, another 1-2 in the bag, fastest lap as well. It's just ideal. So let me explain. Charles obviously got pole, Schumacher got 4th again in qualifying. Had a decent start, was in 3rd. Charles obviously went off into the lead because he's just got so much pace. The car is the best. It just always helps. Then later on in the race, there was a crash. Tsunoda binned it at turn 1, caused a safety car. I had a free pit stop pretty much. Mediums, he got away from Schumacher. Schumacher has overtaken Perez. You'll love to see it. Yeah, Perez is kind of fallen off a lot. 4th and 5th for the Red Bulls, and we once again get insane points. 128 points clear. It's so ideal. I think everyone wishes this happened in real life. Charles wins, Ferrari 1-2, and Mick Schumacher is on the podium at Monza. But that didn't happen, and instead we've got ourselves an incredible result. And once again, the Red Bulls took each other out. Max got taken out by Perez, I think. Or other way around, Perez got taken out by Max, but he came off worse. I'm not really too sure. But that means that I'm pretty sure Charles has won this championship. But it's also, we could still get 2nd with Schumacher, which would be insane. We got a 1-2 in the championship and in the constructors. That would be insane. But it's still a long way to go. He's definitely not coming 4th. He's coming at least 3rd. Okay, this car has got to the point where it's literally the best by a mile. There were 2 safety cars in this race and we still cleared Hamilton, even though it was like 5 laps ago. Yeah, obviously Charles has still got the edge over Mick, but obviously he does. He's got a really high rating, but at least he's getting seconds and he hasn't made a mistake in a while. In the drivers, he's only 10 points away from Verstappen. Let's go. And in the constructors, we're nearly 200 points ahead. So unfortunately we got beat in this race. It's been a long time coming, but where is Leclerc? He binned it. So let me explain. Start of the race, obviously we got away because we had the best car by a mile. Then Leclerc binned it, caused a safety car. Mick was at the front, he got away. Then it started raining and we put on the wrong tyres in the long run. In hindsight, obviously it was the wrong tyre, but at the time it looked like the right choice. It was going to be raining for a long time, but it didn't really work out. So Mick finished second, started second to be fair. His qualifying's gotten a lot better as the car has gotten a lot better. And we're not 200 points ahead anymore, which is pretty disappointing. Okay, so another win for Charles. 26 points, fastest lap. And another P3 for Mick. I mean, at least he's getting podiums and at least he's not making mistakes. Obviously, Max has gone a bit clear, but yeah, he's close. Leclerc, I think, has already won the title, but we're still going, and we've probably already won the constructors as well. So it's looking good. I think we've done it. There you go, much better. 1-2 once again. Another wet affected race, and to be honest, we played it right. Inter's right, went onto the dries at the right time, and Max made a mistake. Drivers, 16 points off Max with 2 races to go, and we're so clear in the constructors. Brilliant race from the boys once again. Another 1-2 and another Red Bull 3-4. Let me explain. There were 2 safety cars in this. Don't really get safety cars at Brazil in this game, but we capitalized on them both times. Leclerc was in the perfect position to pit for fresh tires, and ultimately at the end I just pitted him onto fresh softs, get the fastest lap. Easy. Schumacher fought really well, obviously qualified 4th, a bit disappointing, but he fought really well, had the pace, and came 2nd. You'll love to see it. He's only 13 points behind Verstappen, so let's hope for a Red Bull disaster class in the final race at Abu Dhabi. And in the constructors, we are fucking clear. You kidding me? We don't even get driver champion celebrations. Well, anyway, let's talk about that race. It was very boring, but the result is something we're very happy with. So once again, we finished the season with a 1-2. Mick got the fastest lap, 2 seconds faster than Charles's best lap, and obviously he was quite a bit further back because he did pit. With this second, has he overtaken Max? Oh, he was 6 points off. Fair enough. Very close. We were very far ahead of Red Bull. Jesus, and Charles was obviously very, very far ahead of Verstappen. Won the drivers with ease, won the constructors with ease. Very disappointed there's no celebrations. So now time to answer the question that was posed at the start of this video. What would happen to F1 if Mick joined the team his father dominated the sport in? Well, what you get is you get Ferrari winning the constructors. Probably because Mick actually brought some competent strategists over to the team. But more importantly, let's look at the driver stats. Well, firstly, you get Leclerc winning 18 out of the 22 races. 21 podiums. The only time he didn't finish was in Japan. 11 fastest laps, 14 pole positions. This is a truly ridiculous season. That's never been done before. That is a record, I swear. Michael did get a podium in every single race in whatever season. 11 fastest laps, 14 poles, who cares? That is a ridiculous season. But let's look at his teammate. 6 points off second in the drivers. 1 win, 15 podiums, 3 fastest laps, and 0 poles. Let's be real here, he was never going to win the championship. He started to save 13 ratings below Leclerc, so obviously he's not going to be able to do much. But in the one time he was given the opportunity to win, when Leclerc had to fuel save in Silverstone, he took that opportunity and his fuel saving actually paid off, and he got that 1 win and was pretty reliable throughout the whole season, got better as it went on, stopped making mistakes after a while, and therefore was able to just get better. Obviously, Leclerc, Leclerc won 18. You can't really do much with Mick because he came second every time. He did the Bottas in a way and just contributed to the team effort. So that is your answer. Mick Schumacher would do pretty good at Ferrari. Not to say that Sainz hasn't been doing good, but this would be incredible to see. Just to see MSC on that timing board would be incredible in a Ferrari. But it's never going to happen. He might not even be in F1 next year, let's be real. So that's going to be all from me today. But for now, goodbye.